So anyway, let's talk review. Don't even worry about getting damaged by him. It's not a big deal.
Oh, we're gonna play.
Because we're just gonna, just rest and get health again.
Okay, well, what's your review?
I would say I think it's a really good game. With a couple flaws, but it is definitely Metroidvania. Although it's kind of different than a lot of those in the sense that there's not as much like the overworld map. You only really go back to one level during the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't really feel like kind of like a totally comprehensive world the way something like a Castlevania does. Because you only really need to go to the one. Not wasting anything, it's fine. We've already got everything.
You wasted one of my missiles.
Oh, your missile. Okay. How many missiles do you have?
Like 6.
Okay.
How many do you have?
Alright, we're going back to the... I'd give the game like an 8.5 or something. The one thing I think it does really well, which Metroid, which is kind of like more of an exploration kind of thing, is that it really integrates the gunplay in. It really feels like a Metroid kind of Contra game, and it makes the fighting. Whereas I feel like near the end of Metroid and Castlevania kind of games, you get to a point where you don't really care to fight the enemies except for the bosses, because all the enemies are very like weak in comparison, especially in Metroid games, I feel. Where like you're kind of just like going through the motions of getting through the level, and you're like, okay, here's some little alien bug or whatever. In this game, I never felt like the enemies were like
That big of a deal?
No, I never felt like they weren't a big deal. Like, I always felt like I needed to avoid them. I always felt like I needed to worry about being killed by them. Whereas in other games, that's not so much the case. So I think they did a really good job, like, balancing the gunplay and the exploration. It definitely feels like a Metroid Contra instead of just like exploring an area. You have to worry about the enemies and the patterns and the gunplay a lot, way more than you would in a Metroid game, which is more focused on like gunplay, or exploration, and less focused on the guns. I like the whole like the leveling up the weapons is pretty neat until you get really annoyed and you like lose a weapon, especially because you really rely on this one, which shoots you upwards.
Right.
When you lose that, it's like, oh god. So the over reliance on that kind of became a problem. Now, as a co-op game, I think it's really good.
Okay.
It's having you here, definitely, it's like us working together as a team, surrounding guys. It definitely throws off their patterns. Let's see. Okay, I'm at max missiles now, so how many missiles do you have?
6.
Okay, so we'll focus on you now. Like, it definitely makes a huge difference that you're in it, and it helps out. It's a good co-op game. The camera, it does a pretty good job, even for a game that was designed for this initially. It's pretty good. The feel of a lot of things is very precise. I would love to watch somebody speed run this game just to see
that would be
how good they can be at this stuff.
Interesting, for
with
sure.
the booster and all this other stuff. I would say though that I do feel like some of these things could have been integrated even better into the game. Like, I didn't feel like maybe there's an earlier way to get it. Oh shit. Let's do that. Alright, let's just go back down. Yeah. Because I was waiting for you.
Sorry.
I forgot. Like, you don't get the booster until later,
Yeah.
And I feel it would have been better if we had it sooner. It would have made a big difference in how we were playing. Similar to with this gun with the full upgrade, getting the full upgrade for this weapon, like, and how much of a difference that makes in the gameplay. It seemed to be kind of later in the game that we got like some of these things. So in terms of flaws, though, I think the most obvious flaw, and it's, you know, partially I'm sure by design, but the instant deaths.
Yeah, that's
for
a
sure.
problem.
Like
Jesus fucking Christ.
the
Just do it. It's pissing me off.
the boxes that fall on you, all the stuff like that it's just a little too unforgiving. I don't mind, like, there's plenty of save points, so it's not so much about there not being checkpoints or any of those other things. Like, it's a hardcore game, I get that.
How many do I need to get?
A bunch, like 10 more,
Okay.
15 more. It's a hardcore game. There's plenty of save points. It is fun, like, kind of being like, okay, can I do this? And you feel yourself, because of your having to retry the different parts of the levels, getting better at it. Like, even in that last section that I was playing, which was a lot harder than a lot of the other parts of the game, with the needing to use the boost, like, I was getting better just at using the boost just from doing that. And so you definitely can feel yourself getting better as you're playing the game, which is always the best thing about these kinds of 2D side-scrolling kind of games, is getting the patterns, and that's where a lot of satisfaction comes in. But the instant deaths
Okay, just let me go in.
are a little too unforgiving. There should be one below you. And I can see this game being a real challenge for, like, a younger kid.
Or, you know, me. Ready?
Or Julie.
It is. I mean, I will say one thing. I don't like the controls.
Yeah.
That is something I don't like about the game. I think it's fun. It's just, I don't think they're very user-friendly. This isn't a game that's just for just some easy peasy stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't be deceived by the cutesy...
No, this is not like a JV game. This is a varsity game.
Oh, go ahead and get those. Alright, what are your missiles at? We're good.
Alright.
We will save. What else did you think about it?
I do like the variety of the different levels. And even though there's not a ton of even though there's not like a ton of places that you go to, it still feels like it's big.
Yeah. Go ahead and finish what you're saying before we go. Stop. So finish what you were saying.
That's all I have to say.
Oh, I just didn't want to move on to the next guy until we were done with her.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's a tough game. We played it on easy mode.
I can't imagine playing this on another level. No. You could, but...
I do think they also did a really great job making the enemies' movements, like, combined together for certain patterns. Like, I could see this game being a lot of fun to get really good at.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's the kind of thing where it's like, do I really want to spend another couple hours mastering this, like Contra or something, memorizing patterns?
That's not my kind of thing. I see why it's appealing, but to me it's a little bit tedious.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the end of